Okay, so welcome to, we're already in week 5. Can you believe we've made it to week 5 already? Whew. It is going rather quickly. So, that being said, we still have a few things to learn, but hopefully you're enjoying the process and you're starting to understand how your other courses are now connected to the visual communications and how the visual communications, when we're talking about things in my course, how they relate back to your other courses, and that includes branding. And we're working on a new brand today. But now we're going to take a look at color theory. And color theory is really important to the visual process because colors, and I'm going to show you a site to look at and how you can make this process really easy on yourself. And we're going to use Adobe Color today. It's directly connected to your Adobe account. So whatever you do in Adobe Color in the cloud, you can save in your library and use your colors in Illustrator, Photoshop, or InDesign. It's pretty awesome. All right, so let's see what color theory is all about. And it's going to look pretty basic to start, but we use this color theory in all sorts of different industries. So let's get started. All right, color theory. Color theory again. We're going to start with the basics, and I'm going to give you, I had 3 years worth of color theory, and I'm going to give you color theory in the next 15 minutes. I'm going to give you the basics, because really, if you know the basics and then you know the tools you can use to help you select color, that's all you really need to know. Okay? Let the graphic designer you hire who knows more of that to the nth degree, do that work for you. But as a marketer or PR professional or whatever you decide to go into as a career from this certificate, this integrated communication certificate, whatever career you go into, it's always great to understand the basics of what a graphic designer does, the visual communications tools part of it, because sometimes you are going to be responsible for creating a report, a poster, some content for the web. So if that's what you're doing, if you have a basic understanding of it, it helps you make the right choices for the right reasons, because your audience, that's who this is for. Who's your target audience or customer? In marketing, you have a target customer. In PR, you have an audience who you're speaking to. Okay, so let's see what color theory has to tell us. So you understand the basics already. You learned these as a small child. So we're talking about inks and pigments here. So this color theory has been around for over 400 years, and it's called the Fibonacci color wheel. Do you have to know who created it? Nope. You just need to know that there are 12 colors in a 12-point color wheel. So the Fibonacci code, and you've probably heard of the Fibonacci code as well. So we have this color wheel that we use to help us identify color, warm and cold colors, and then how colors make us feel. So we have a psychology behind the color and emotions behind colors. So this is what we're going to use this wheel for. So we learned that the primary colors are yellow, blue, and red. Now, if you're working in the digital space, our screens are made up of blue, red, and green. But with pigments and inks and dyes, like even dyes for your clothes, yeah, this theory is used for this as well. So your clothes, the paint on the walls, all of those things that have pigments, the pens, your highlighters, think of all the things you use that apply color, okay? That's what this color theory is based on. Everything else is in light theory, any digital screens, we have blue, red, green. But today's lesson is on inks and pigments, so we have blue, red, yellow. So those are your primary colors. When you mix those, you get your secondaries. So yellow and blue make green, yellow and red make orange, and blue and red make violet or purple. Okay, easy peasy, right? You already know this. Primaries and secondaries. Now we mix a primary with a secondary and you get tertiaries. Tertiary meaning 3. Okay, so now the names of those are pretty simple, right? The names are pretty simple. If you mix the primary yellow with the secondary orange, you get yellow-orange. If you mix a primary yellow with a secondary green, you get yellow-green. So just having 2 words in the name is enough to tell you that's a mixed color and it's a tertiary. Here's where we mix it up a little bit. We add a tint. How do you get a tint of a color when you're using ink and pigments? You add white. Now in the digital space on your screen, how do we make a tint of a color? We reduce the opacity of the color. So instead of it being truly opaque at 100%, we might do 50% or 20% or even 5% of the color to lighten the color. But in pigment and ink and in 12-point color wheel color theory, we add white. So we can reduce the color in the digital space. We add white in the ink and print space. Okay. Now we have shades. So think of shades are darker, shades, shadows. So we add black. We can also neutralize the color by adding some of its opposite to neutralize it. So if you wanted to neutralize yellow, you would add a bit of its opposite, the violet, on the other end. So you can neutralize the color a bit too. So you're kind of muting the boldness, the brightness of that color. So there's a way to do it that way as well. And again, much easier to do in the digital space. But when you're mixing color pigments and inks and paints and all that kind of stuff, there's a whole lot of thought that needs to be put in how to mix your colors to get the exact color you want. Okay, so this is a 12-point color wheel. Keep note of that. Will you be tested on this? Yes. Will you be tested on this? Yes. So keep that in mind. This is something you'll be tested on. This you will be tested on as well. Okay, so primaries, secondaries, tertiaries, tints, and shades. Tints, add white. Shades, add black. And that's your basic color theory knowledge. That's all you really need to know to really understand how to create those colors. Now, from this 12-point color wheel plus tints and shades, guess how many colors you can get? Would you guess in the millions? Yeah, in the millions. 16 million colors you can create with this theory. Okay, quite a few. All right. So now that we have the 12-point color wheel, now we're going to look at color themes. Okay. So this is a monochromatic color theme. And so it is a single color. So basically you're using tints and shades of a single color, but when you really think about it, it's the opacity. So when we're working in the digital space and we're working with Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop, and today we'll be working with Illustrator. So we can't add white to create a tint. We're going to reduce the amount of color we're using. So if you want a lighter color of black, you use a percentage of that black. And that's how you get a monochromatic, just tints and shades of a single color. Okay, this is also a great color theme to use when you don't have a lot of money to print posters. You can do a black and white poster. So if you go to Staples and you need to print out 500 copies of a black and white poster, for an 8.5 by 11, you're paying about 13 cents. Now add color. even a single color at Staples, because it prints on a 4-color process printer, CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So when you print any color at Staples, you're now looking at over $1 a print. So now your campaign, your poster costs are over $500. Or if you printed it in a single color in black and white, just do the math. 13 cents a copy. Okay? So it's way cheaper. So much more affordable. So if you have a budget that you have to adhere to, there are cost-saving measures that you can use, and it comes right down to color theory as well. Okay, so mono means one. So monochromatic, one tints and shades of a single color. Now, these are in the wrong order. This is one color. Let's move to 2 colors. Complementary. Complementary are 2 colors directly opposite each other on the 12-point color wheel. But you can also use the tints and shades of those colors for your color palette. So you can see the base color over to the left, plus tints and shades here. So we have shades at the top, darker. We have our base bold color in the middle. And then we have our tint at the bottom. So it's lighter. Or we add white. Add white, add black, base color in the middle. So complementary, think of complementaries as being opposites attract. That's why they complement each other. So we have the same thing in typography. Remember our typography lesson? So typography are opposites attract as well. So you have a serif with a sans serif. You have a bold versus light. Well, in color theory, we choose the opposite on the color wheel for its complementary. And that's how we can create contrast. It's the best way to create contrast, is to apply color, and complementaries are your best contrasting color themes that you can choose. All right, so we have single color, monochromatic, 2 colors, complementary, and now we're moving to 3 colors on the color wheel called analogous color theory, and that's choosing 3 colors side by side on the 12-point color wheel. Okay? Analogous is side by side. We do have a triad color theory. Color theme. That's these guys. Primary colors are a triad. That's not analogous though. Okay? Analogous are 3 colors side by side on a color wheel, whereas a triad, still 3 colors, but evenly spaced on the color wheel. So primaries are considered a triad, secondaries are considered a triad, and yellow, orange, red, violet, and blue, green are considered a triad. As long as they're evenly spaced on the 12-point color wheel, you can choose those 3 colors as a triad. Okay, so triads are like this, but not analogous. Still 3 colors, but not a triad. 3 colors side by side on the 12-point color wheel. Any 3 colors, as long as they're side by each. Now remember, based on a 12-point color wheel. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 3 colors. Now we move on to 4. Sets of opposites attract. You have to have at least 1 space. You can also add a secondary space. So you can, if you drew a rectangle here, that's a tetrad, but you can also draw a square. So a square, a rectangle, either way, you have a tetrad. So basically 2 sets of opposite colors on the 12-point color wheel gives you a tetrad. All right. So will you be tested on these? Yeah. Why am I testing you on these? We're talking basic color theory, but you want to pick a theme. You want to pick a theme when you're working with colors, because that's going to help you choose the right colors to combine to complete a project, including a logo. Okay? Don't worry, we'll put this into practice. I'll show you how to do it in Adobe Color. Right? So we've now reviewed the 12-point color wheel, very basic color theory, using the 12-point color wheel with single color, monochromatic, 2-color, complementary, 3-color, analogous, or triad, and 4-color, tetrad. Okay, so we've got those color themes. We have our primary colors, yellow, blue, and red. We have our secondaries, green, violet, and orange. Then we mix primaries with secondaries to get our tertiaries. To make it lighter, we add white. To make it darker, we add black. And now let's take a look. There's our 12-point color wheel to the left, but you probably recognize it as the chart to the right. If you've ever been to a hardware store to buy paint, this is what that looks like. So those color chips you see, that giant wall of Behr paints or whatever brand paints are there, we see color chips like this. And this based on the exact same color theory. We have a base color, and then we have tints and shades of that color. And then that color might change a little bit based on the value of how much blue is in that color, how much green is in that color, how much yellow is in that color. So you can see that we've got this chart that shows us the differences, subtle differences. So this blue to violet or this green to blue, you can see there's variations in between there. All right, hence 16 million colors we can produce. All right, so we're used to seeing the chart on the right, but it's all based on this 12-point color wheel to the left. Now, sometimes our eyes play tricks on us based on the environment the color is sitting in, right? So if you were to look at the squares at the top, one of them actually is hard for me to look at on the screen here, and that's the red square in that bluish square, right? Like it's competing in hues and values. And so, but boy, that red really stands out on that background. But the red also stands out most on the black background compared to the white background. So where do you want more contrast? And then we have the least amount of contrast with the red block over the orange background. So consider when you're choosing your colors, if you're trying to create contrast, then the contrast is reliant on the other color you choose for that color to sit in. So you can see the red square, those are all identical reds, but the value might slightly change based on the environment it's sitting in. The contrast might change based on the environment it's sitting in. So if we take a look at the two boxes at the bottom, that violet square rectangle in the middle is identical, even though they look different based on the background of the other violet it's sitting in. It actually makes it look a little bit different. So consider how colors react to being in their environment. So we have to pay attention to that. And also, if you're working on AODA compliancy, so accessibilities, there's a lot of call to have accessibility access to people who have a hard time reading screens, including people with color blindness. What if you had color blindness? And so it doesn't affect women as much as it affects men. And actually men, typically about 30% of all men have a level of color blindness, and women aren't usually affected by color blindness. So if you had full color blindness, you cannot see the red square in the black box. Nope, and their values are pretty close to the same, so you don't even see that there's a square in the box. It might just look like one big black box because the values, the hues of that red equal the values of the black. They can't see that red. And red and green are the colors that are the most common colors that can't be seen by those with color blindness. Okay, so how do you know if you're not colorblind? How do you know if you're picking the right colors? Adobe Color has a color blindness check. Yes, and I'm going to show you how to use that today, and it's very cool. And I wish that was around when I was building Rex Magazine. Rex Magazine was a business magazine that I worked on for a few years, and it our primary target market and buyers of the magazine, subscribers, were men. So I had to be aware as a visual communicator, the graphic designer, the visual communications person. I had to be aware of that fact because when I did charts and graphs, I had to make sure you could differentiate my legend, my color palette for charts and graphs. Because if I used red and black, well, now there's no difference between one bar and the next bar from my legend because someone with color blindness can't differentiate them. So we started getting clever with those and started using patterns inside our blocks and charts and graphs in order to make that really easy for, even if you were color blindness, you could visually tell the difference between those blocks. So I had a 100% colorblind. He didn't see color, very little of it. And so he helped me with my charts and graphs to make sure he could differentiate it before we went to print, which was great. But now we have a digital tool for that, which I'm going to show you today. So knowing your audience is really important. So I could get away with color and the colors I used in Grand Magazine, which was mostly more than 90% women read the magazine. So I didn't have to worry about the color blindness issue. But in Rex Magazine, I did. So knowing my audience and who's receiving the visual communications, I had to be aware of that so I could design accordingly. So it becomes important. Now, does anyone remember this? Gold and white dress versus blue and black dress phenomenon on Facebook. It was a major thing. It was a major thing. And even in my own household, we had a debate. Because I saw black and blue, and on the exact same screen, I said, you must be looking at a different screen. My daughter and my husband saw gold and white, and I could not understand how they saw something different than I did because we don't all see the same. We don't all see the same. So that's something that we have to take into consideration as well. And that's why, as a graphic designer, as a visual communicator, we look at the values of the color. We take a look at cyan, magenta, yellow, black. We take a look at the color breakdown. So if we want a true red, a bright, brilliant red in Illustrator, we would choose 100% cyan and 100% yellow, which creates 100% bright red. So then we start looking at the values, the number values of those colors. But it's amazing. This dress is dangerous as Monopoly. Yeah, it did cause I was really shocked because I thought my husband, being a photographer, would see it the same way I do as a visual communicator. He did not. So I was really shocked at that. So we do see color a little bit differently, which was really interesting. So just keep that in mind. And the amount of light. So the dress here, because we're seeing all three together, the middle image was the one that was shared. Okay, the middle image was the one that was shared. So depending on your screen and the values of your screen and the amount of light that you're seeing, it could produce the look of the goldish, yellowish, right, white dress on the left. But if you had a darker screen, then the values could appear darker. So the amount of light that's coming through your screen, how it's calibrated, is it warmer, is it cooler, the way your eyes see light. My eyes, I have an interesting thing where only a quarter of both my eyes see no light at all. No light comes into my eyes. So my brain has to work harder at filling in the gaps. So when I see color, maybe my eyes and my brain have figured out how to see more true values. I don't know. It's a very cool, scientific, interesting thing about human beings and also the way our brains work. So my eyes can't see it, but my brain has filled in the gaps. So our brains are pretty awesome tools. And so it depends what you've been exposed to, the environment you're in, how much lighting you have. So many factors we have to consider, but it's really cool. All right. Oh, that's a great point. Someone in chat said there's also a theory regarding eye color too and how you see color. Yeah. So there's lots of cool scientific evidence out there that suggests that we all don't see this color the same way just based on genetics, eye color, all sorts of different factors, how much light our ocular nerves are letting in. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, color, color, color. So let's we will look at values of color when we go into adobe.com. So I will be showing you that once we get to color theory. But now that we've gone through the science behind that and the basic 12-point color wheel, let's take a look at the color influences. How does color influence our decisions? And so color can be emotional. And so brands can choose colors based on the way they make us feel or what they make us think about. So you can see these brands have chosen colors based on the emotional impact that color has. And does their brand stand behind that? Is that an influence of what we're going to perceive about their brand? So when we saw that video about Beirut talking about logo design, and a logo isn't a logo the day it's born, it's the information you pour into it when it becomes a logo, because a logo is simply a brand. Just the look of it is the visual identity of the company, but now you as the communicator need to pour meaning into that. And so what's the meaning behind it? So color has a lot to do with the influencing how we perceive a brand. Okay? So we look at the yellows, optimism, clarity, warmth. Look at red, excitement, youthful, bold. Then we take a look at some of the other logos and the colors that they've chosen. So we have emotional things attached to that. If you want to check out where I got this chart from, there is loads more information. Persuasion Nation. So if you download this PowerPoint and hit play, you too can click on Persuasion Nation, how colors influence our buying decisions. And you can go to that page where there's loads more information if you want to take a look at it. Okay. And someone mentioned here, most of the banks in India have their banks are blue. Why would blue be a good color for a bank? Trust, strength, right? We want our money to be safe. It's dependable. So we're looking for safety of our money as well. So just understanding how color influences our decisions can help us pick the colors that we need for our logos. Okay, so I'm going to play you this video, but I have to pause the recording at this point. So if you want to see it, you can download the PowerPoint to click here. But I'm going to play you this video, but I have to pause so I don't get a strike against me on YouTube. So just going to pause recording. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that little video, and I hope it gave you a little bit of insight also for your advertising course as well, and how this class is connected to that class, very much so, based on the visual communications tools that we use to help influence buyer decision or changing someone's mind. Remember, we have audiences and we have consumers. and both need to be communicated to. And we use visual communications as a strategy, a creative strategy, in order to get those messages across. All right, and that was the end of that PowerPoint. So we're just going to talk about repetition of color. And so there's another PowerPoint. I'm going to go through it quickly because I really want you to get onto your Illustrator exercise. So instead of taking a break and then coming back later, we'll just get through it right now, and then you're off and good to complete the rest of your day. Okay? Is everyone okay with that? If I can get a thumbs up from you. Okay, good. So let's get through this thing. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our other PowerPoint. So I just have to open it here. And it is called repetition. So we have been working with the contrast, the CRAP principles, right? So I'm going to share my screen again. Share. Too many buttons to press here. All right, so here we go. So we're just going to go through repetition quickly. And so this becomes a really important factor in using branding colors and repeating branding colors in our visual communications. So let's take a look at repetition and what it means to repeat thyself. Okay, so here we go. So repetition is just that. You repeat things, whether it be fonts, whether it be colors, whether it be imagery. So what is it that you're going to repeat and then be consistent with that repetition? Repetition can even be the same size font color for headlines in a newspaper, for instance. But color becomes a really important part for repetition because it helps your audience to navigate through content. Okay? So it also helps organize your content and create more visual interest. So there's lots of things we can repeat. Shapes. So when you're working on a report, you're in Microsoft Word and you're using bullet points. Do you use the same bullets or do you change them up and you want to add more visual interest? So you're using square bullets and round bullets, then colored bullets. Don't do it. No, that creates clutter, right? Keep it simple, students. Okay, kiss. Don't forget to kiss. Keep it simple, students. Did you blush? So remember to keep it simple. Use the CRAP principles, contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, to keep it simple. Make a decision and stick with it. That's the repetition part of this. So if you choose square bullets that have a color repeated from the logo in your document, then repeat. You want to repeat those elements. Okay, so that helps keep a visual organization and it keeps a clean design. So photo boxes. So you choose a size and you stick with that size and you repeat that size and shape throughout the document as well. If you want to create contrast with shapes, you can have all squares and then the one you want to focus on is in a circle, right? So you can create contrast that way. But what we'd like to do for clean, organized, and unified design is we want to repeat those elements. Okay? Colors. Using branded colors from your logo is an excellent way to help create a relationship between the color and your logo for brand recognition. So when I see that color and I see that logo, I am reminded of your brand, which then, if you've poured meaning into it, has more to do with the business than it does with just identifying the logo. Okay? So maybe reading headlines. So you're scrolling through a website. If all the text is in black and white, what color can you use for the headers throughout the website in order for it to make it easier for you to navigate through the content to find the things you're looking for. Because you might skim, and we all skim. We skim through content until we find something we're looking for that we want to read or that we've searched for in SEO, or we're reading through a magazine, flip, flip, flip. We're reading through a newspaper, scan, flip. So however our audience or our customers, their behaviors of looking for content, color is a very helpful tool to help people navigate through the content. And then, of course, fonts and styles of fonts. So the rule of thumb, 3 fonts, stick to those 3 fonts, but you can still use styles of that font. So you can use 3 fonts, but you can use bold, regular, italic of that font. Bold, regular, italic, extended, condensed. Bold, regular, light, right? So think about the different styles of a font, but the rule of thumb is to use 3 to stay unified and organized, and you repeat those fonts. Okay? And if you want to create visual interest, you can repeat, again, colors that allow you to accentuate certain things to create focus, which then works really well with the contrast principle. Okay? Told you I was going to go through this quickly. So let's take a look at this. Oh my, look at that business card on the left. Now, granted, someone purposefully put a bad business card together as an example. It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. Granted, they did do some repetition. Can you tell where? If we take a look at Logo Works by Hewlett-Packard here, we can see this little tab underneath Logo Works that it has this gold, orange, light blue, dark blue in there, which he has repeated. Here's the gold, here's the orange, here's the light blue, here's the dark blue. I don't know where the green came from and why he's chosen it. His picture's on here. There's a quote in here. The alignment's all over the place. Eek! This is Logo Works. He's a senior client retainment specialist and design fulfillment supervisor. It's a long title. And I wouldn't hire him for that job. Because look at his card. If he's that disorganized on his card and is so cluttered, imagine what kind of work he would do for you. So, this is why we want to KISS. We want to keep it simple, students. So look at the card on the right. Beautiful use of all the design principles, including repetition. We have a black block, which is repeated on the other side of the card. The fonts are repeated. The placement is repeated. It's all beautifully centered. Simple, simple, simple. Keep it simple, students. The card on the left would have been way more expensive to print as well. It's full color. It's got rounded corners, which is a die cut, which costs more. I don't even know why there's this watermark in the background. It makes no sense, and it's not repeated of anything. If we take a look at the repetition of the block of black on this card, look how simple this card is, but it looks effective because it's clean, it's unified, it's organized, it's tidy, and it looks classic as well. And it was cheap to print, black and white. That's it, square corners, keep it simple, okay? Now, when we're working with restaurants, we have print material like menus, signage, business cards, but we also have dinner plates. The dinner plates also have the same blue that is used in their print products. Now, granted, they don't have blue plates. Remember that blue has a nauseating effect on food. So when you're creating your logo today, or in the next couple of days, when you're creating your logo for your AIDS Diet Candies rebrand, whatever name you chose, consider that blue is probably a bad idea because it's not a natural food color. The only food on planet Earth that is blue is a blueberry. Delicious, but you want to lose weight, put it on a blue plate because it looks less appetizing. Also, remember earlier on the color in the background, the color that a color sits in, its environment. So if you have reds and yellows on your plate and you add the opposite color, it neutralizes the color, making it look duller and less appetizing. Hence, white is your best bet for food on a plate. Okay? The rim is blue. So I went back to that because I want you to consider when you're using colors and applying colors to your A's Diet Candies rebrand name, that blue is probably a color you don't want to use because of the implication it has with the association with dulling the colors of food. Okay? We want the food to stand out, so you can see on this nice platter in the middle between the menus, we have this beautiful, look at these gorgeous colors of the food. Okay? So why did they use blue in this particular case, though, on the menus? Well, because it's seafood, and seafood lives in the sea, and we associate water as being blue. So that's why they chose blue. So there's a direct association of the color to the product. Okay? So do you have a chocolate rebrand? Are you doing diet candies? So do you have different flavors? Are you going to do chocolates? If you do chocolates, why not make one of the words in your combination of words for your logo brown? Chocolate's brown, so you can use brown. Why not? Because it is associated with chocolate, and we recognize it as such. Okay? Here we have repetition of layout. So you can see here we have a symbol in the middle. So this startup lab in the middle has a picture at top, text at the bottom, with a symbol overlapping the two in the center of each one of these layouts on this page. You can see the repetition happening here of the fonts. Repetition, repetition, and the colors are repeated, but we're going to a different theme, a different idea. So the shape stays the same, the font stays the same, but the colors change based on it's a different category. So they've used color effectively to create contrast between ideas, but they've used repetition of the shapes and fonts to retain continuity in the design. One of my favorite poster series ever. I love these posters. Very, very different plays, but you can tell that these plays all belong to the exact same theater. The same theater because of the photos in the center. So different plays, but same fonts, same style of photo, black and white, over top of a color frame. The ripped corner where the black swan logo sits in the bottom right corner. Beautifully designed. So lots of great repetition here. And the only color to attract us is the background. So there's a photo in the background that is secondary, almost tertiary to the design. But you can see the repetition works beautifully here. And our repetition in color here is the black and white. Okay? And then the color attractiveness is just the frame. So this is a really beautiful series of posters. And I love the Photoshop here. I can show you how to create that, doing a picture within a picture and close cropping not only the person in the picture, but creating the illusion that the shape below it is also close cropped. So it's a really cool combination. Believe it or not, you can do that with just the basics of Photoshop as well. All right. Oh, and I have some other posters in here. Okay, when you have a lot of content to put in a poster, take a look at the poster on the left. My goodness, there's a lot of information in there, and I mean a lot. So it needed to be organized. So we've got proximity working really well here, but we've got the colors. See the colors? They're separated. It's helping separate the different categories of information. Even though the information in the side is treated exactly the same, we have repetition of the font and how the font is being displayed, okay, and how the fonts are being used. Identical, different information, different categories, but we've got repetition happening there. Beautifully done. And we also have the colors that help create different packages. It's helping with our visual proximity of the content of that information. Beautifully done. Then we have a much simpler poster in the middle, but look at the clever design. It's karaoke, microphone, ice cream, and they turned it into an ice cream cone. Very clever use of visually communicating a theme. It's ice cream karaoke. Okay, so they went quite literal with the visual communications here. Beautifully done. You can see the fonts are repeated as well. And then we move to the right. Why did I choose this one? Because his master's voice, the tickets are a repetition image of the poster. The layout of how the text is placed, the fonts in all the different pieces of collateral here match. So you can take any piece, any collateral, and you know it belongs to that piece. Okay, so we've got a nice grouping of print collateral here for this play. Then we move on to newspaper. We're almost done. And then we're going to get into our illustrator assignment, and then off you go. So, newspaper. How do you know you're in business section 1 versus business section 2? The color. Blue versus red. Done. So, really easy to differentiate. But look at the repetition also with the fonts, the styles of the fonts, the placement of the fonts, the banner, how the banner is created. The only differentiation to create contrast is the color. They've done a beautiful job with this newspaper. Newspapers, I worked in newspaper for 20 years. There's a lot that goes into building every page of a newspaper, multiple pages on a daily basis. And so consistency is key to help you add the content, get through the content, and know what your layout is every day and what you're working with. So there's a grid system here. We have a 6-column, or I guess it's maybe a 7-column grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've got a wider banner here, but so they have a grid system that they like to stick to here. Makes it easier to visualize and be able to place your imagery and your text here. And then this beautiful annual report. Don't worry, this is the last one in this PowerPoint. And so the cool thing about this annual report, which I love, is the content is black and white plus red, their logo color. But if you get to a new section, only the new chapter has a color image to start off the chapter. Then it's black and white the rest of the way through. And when you hit a new chapter, there's a color image, then black and white with red. And then a new image with color means you're in a new chapter. Very clever way to use color to separate chapters. But we have this great repetition of how things are laid out. So we can see the images here. All the headshots are in circles. All the headshots are in this bannered bar. All the text below, same font, same placement, left alignment, red line underneath. Repeat, 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 repeat. And it's clean, it's unified, it's organized. Did you have to fill the space to the bottom? No, you don't. Okay, so white space can just signify that there's not any more text there to read in this particular case. But that use of repetition, layout, and design, and using a grid system works really well for multiple page documents. All right, so there's all sorts of types of repetition. So, what's coming up next? You're going to work in Illustrator. There's a video tutorial. You've probably seen it. It's the same one. And so what we are going to do is you're going to launch Illustrator when you're ready. You can go through the video step by step, just as you did when you built your personal logo. So when you built your personal logo, you had a font and you had to install your font. So I'm going to do the quickest of demos right now, and then I leave you to it to design your logo. Okay? Before we do that, someone did have a question about how do multiple color designs work? I'm going to show you the NBC logo. Okay, so the NBC logo, I'm just going to show you this one and share my screen again. Okay, so why would you choose multiple colors? What does a multicolored logo mean? Well, in this particular case, because it's well done, this logo, NBC logo, they have 6 divisions in NBC. So they have news, sports, talk shows. See how that works? Okay. So they have 6 divisions. So the 6 colors, each division is assigned a color. So that's how that can work. And so we have primaries. We have yellow. That's actually red. Yellow, red, and blue. We have our primaries. And our tertiaries, green, orange, violet. So they've used the primaries and the secondaries together to create their 6 colors of note for their 6 divisions in their logo. And it looks like a peacock. These are repeated. Look at those teardrops upside down. They are repeated, identical size and shape. And they are arranged to make it look like a peacock. And then the peacock, how can you know it's a peacock? Because they've put the beak here. The way they've arranged it makes it look like a very simplified, graphically designed peacock. Very nicely done. Okay, so that's a time you would add more color. Can you have more color in, the Google logo? Someone's mentioning the Google logo. Let's take a look at the Google logo. Gee, why did Google pick multiple colors? Same reason. Okay, Google has the primaries plus green. Okay, there's probably more to it than that. And they also have a logo system. So if you remember from week 2, I think, when we were doing logos, the Google system means you can still identify a logo, but you can create other themes with it. So Google logo themes. So when they do themes, they create a system with their logo. So they use their logo, but they create a logo system where they can visually communicate different ideas, but still in keeping with a recognizable symbol, their logo. So it's really cool. Someone's saying eBay. Yes, that was from week 1. The eBay logo, because eBay, you can buy anything of any size, any color, And so they took it from this straight logo here, and this is their logo today. So, and that's just to signify, actually, is this their newest logo? Maybe I like the overlap better. I hope that's not their newest logo, but it might be. This logo makes more sense to me based on the overlaps and the different sizes because of the variety of things you can get on eBay. But again, we have the 3 primary colors plus green. Green seems to be the one that we like to use. All right. So that's multiple colors. So if you want to look at the history behind some of the logos, you can look up logo history of famous brands. Just Google logo history of famous brands. It's amazing what you'll find behind the meaning of the logo, which is really cool. All right, so we're working on an Illustrator logo. Your logo is going to be dropped in the assignments folder. And the assignment folder you are going to choose is this one. IC Branding Logo Draft. IC Branding Logo Draft. This is an IC logo, so Integrated Communications logo, not to be confused with your branding. This branding package here, that's your personal logo. Anything that is not your personal branding, like your own name that we're working on, is IC collateral. Okay, and that means that your AIDS Diet brand candy new redesign goes in IC branding logo draft. Now, why is it a draft? Because we get to refine it and do what we need to do to it before we add it to our packaging, which is next week's in-class assignment. We are going to create a mock-up of the packaging next week using the logo you create this week. It's going to be awesome. So that being said, milestone 4 is due next week. It's very simple. You just have to pick. You just have to follow the instructions in the milestone 4 assignment. So where do we get them? Evaluations. And in evaluations, we have milestones. And in milestones, we have milestone 4, the chocolate. Now it says chocolate, but it's your AIDS diet candies. Redesign. We're going to take the logo you produced this week and we're going to apply it to packaging next week. So that's milestone 4. It's very straightforward. You're going to read it. You're going to fill out the information I need, and you're going to choose the packaging, and I have them all here for you already. In between week 5 and 6, here's your packaging ideas. So when you're working on your logo, consider who it's for. But now for milestone 4, there's some questions in milestone 4 that's going to say, well, are they individual candies? Are there multiple candies in a package? Is it a bar? Is it a single serve bar? Or is it a larger bar where I break pieces off and eat a little bit at a time? You have to make those decisions before you choose what kind of packaging you're going to put your logo on. Need some inspiration? I've provided PSD files for each one of these. So there's boxes, there are bars, there are packages, paper packaging. Consider, is it organic chocolate? Who's your target audience? You can say more about them now. So what would you prefer in your AIDS Diet Candies rebrand? So if you called it, so let's just say we called it Slim Sweets. And if you had Slim Sweets, what kind of packaging would you put it in? We have resealable if there's more than one serving, right? You want a resealable package. Is it individual packaging? You could use this Chinese food box, which is really cool. There are tin cans where you can put individual bites in. There's these resealable bags. There's boxes. Okay, so I think I picked a lot of resealable things. We have this ice cream tub mock-up, which is a really cool little tub that you can close again and have more than one serving inside. But we also have individual serving packages like this wrapper. So there's a few here that you can choose from, and I have provided a PSD file that we're going to use in Photoshop for this project. It's all right here. Okay, so you can choose any one of those to choose for completing milestone number 4. Just tell me what package you plan to use. Okay, and that's all in PSD mockups, where you will find between week 5 and 6. And again, milestones are in evaluations, in milestones, and we're working on number 4 for next week, not due till Wednesday next week. Again, I'm going to have to put a list of calendar due dates in there for you in an announcement, just to be clear about what the due dates actually are. Okay, so your logo is due Sunday night at midnight, and then the package milestone 4 isn't due until Wednesday. Okay? Because Monday's a holiday. You don't want to work on Monday. Monday is Thanksgiving holiday. You do not have classes, you don't have school, and you might not even have to work unless you work in the food industry or a grocery store that might be open Thanksgiving Day. But Monday is Canadian Thanksgiving. Okay, so I will put that in the announcements. So let's quickly move on to what do you have to do for this week's assignment? Create a logo with the AIDS Diet Candies rebrand. Okay, and I'm quickly trying to go through. Should we submit milestone 2? You don't need to submit milestone 2 yet. That was the cropping. Don't worry about doing those yet. So milestone 2 is on hold. Okay, everybody? On hold. I haven't assigned it yet because it's an assignment we would have done in class where you got to shoot your photos with professional lighting, like your self-portraits. And so that one's on hold for you, my online class. My in-person class have already done them and submitted them. The online class has not yet. So just keep that one on hold. That one's on the back burner right now. Okay? So to complete this assignment, we are going to launch Illustrator. I'm going to do a quick demo for Illustrator just to show you what it is you need to do. And I'm actually going to share my entire screen this time so that I can quickly show you. There we go. I'm sharing my screen. So I can quickly show you downloading and installing your fonts. So you downloaded and uploaded fonts to the Dropbox for milestone 3, but what are you going to do with those fonts? You have to install them just like we did for our personal logo. Then once you've downloaded it and then installed them, so I will demonstrate that after I do a quick demo of Illustrator. So those who already know how to download and install their fonts, you're free to go. But so I'll show you Illustrator right now. So what you have to do for designing your logo is, what name did you choose? So I'm going to say, for me, Slim Sweets. So I need to create a new document. So I've launched Illustrator. I'm going to click on letter. I just need a letter size page. I don't need a specific size. And the reason why I'm choosing letter is so I can do multiple designs on one page. And then you're going, Carolyn, why are we doing more than one design for our logo? Because this is our draft. We don't know what our client likes or doesn't like. We need to give them a variety. And then we'll ask them, which one do you like the most? Well, am I on the right track? Did I choose the right fonts? So you need some feedback from the client. By the way, I'm your client. So you're going to create a few drafts here on the page. You're going to submit it. I'm going to give you feedback. And then you can update it next week when we put that on our packaging. Okay? So this is all you have to do. So you've downloaded and installed your fonts, so there you can use them in your project, your assignment. You're going to click on the text tool, and you're not going to click and drag. Remember not to click and drag. We do not want a box to type in. We just want to simply click, just to click. And I'm going to type in the word slim. Then I'm going to click down here, click, and click again to create a new click. Okay, so there's some text there. I know I've got a new line of text when it says Laura Mitsum. And now I need to put sweets. Okay, am I done yet? Clearly not. So once you've used your text tool, you're done. Once you've typed the text on your page, 2 separate words on 2 separate lines, click on your black arrow. They are separate and can be moved separately, which means when I click on the word slim with my black arrow, my selection tool in Illustrator, I can go to the properties palette over here. And if it's not open, you'll find it under the window menu, properties. And because there's text in a box in my selection, the properties know that I can change my font here. So I have lots of fonts here. that I've chosen, and I want to choose one of my slim fonts. So I have one called Caviar Dreams that I chose. It's really slim. So I just choose my font here, or you can, if you remember the name of your font, you highlight this and you type it in to get it. Then I'm just going to make my options box bigger. Then I'm going to increase the size of that text because it's clearly too small to work with. I'm going to use a default here. Okay, so now I have the word slim. And if I hover my mouse inside my selection, it allows me to move it around. Okay, now I need sweets. Now for sweets, I'm going to use a script font that I downloaded. I have one called Bramello that I downloaded and installed, so I'm going to choose that. And again, I'm going to increase the size. So there's sweets. I think I'm going to make the word sweets bigger. Now this is where you don't have to use type size anymore. Once it's big enough to work with, you can grab an anchor point and you can click and drag the size of that bigger. Now, in Illustrator, look at that. It is distortable to the nth degree. If I don't want to distort it and I want to keep it in proportion, I'm going to hold the Shift key. Now, no matter how I drag my mouse, it stays in proportion. So I'm going to make it about this size. Let go of the Shift key after I let go of my mouse or my trackpad. I'm going to take slim, going to move it down, and I'm trying to fit them together like puzzle pieces. Okay, so see how I have two separate words? It makes it easier to move my text around. Okay, so here's Slim Sweet. So I have one design already done. Great. I haven't added color yet. Don't add color yet. Create another design. What do I mean by that? Select with your black arrow, click, hold, and drag a selection over the text. Now copy paste. Now in Illustrator, you don't even have to do Control or Command C followed by Control or Command V to paste. You can move your mouse inside your selection, and on a PC you hold down the Alt key, on a Mac you hold down the Option key, and see how it turns into double arrows? That means I can click, hold, and drag and drop a copy without using Control C, Control V. And now what am I going to do with this? Well, slim still looks slim, but maybe I'm going to choose a bolder version, even though it's not slim, but it still looks slim enough. And I want to completely change this script that I chose. So I have some other scripts that I've downloaded. So I have this one called Almond Wisp. Okay, that looks pretty cool. And I'm just experimenting with different fonts. And maybe it fits like a good puzzle piece about here. Now I have two variations, right? So I always want three though. Why do I want three? Three is the trifecta of playing around with ideas. So now I've got two, doing the same process. Hover my mouse inside my selection, hold down the Alt on a PC, Option on a Mac, click, hold, and drag another copy. Let go. Click away to deselect. I'm now going to click Slim, and I'm going to choose yet another slim font. I have Champagne and Limousines as another slim font, and I'm going to see what other script I have. So, see, when I asked you to download 3 different fonts, I want you to play with your fonts. Literally play with your fonts. Okay? Ooh, that one might be a bit bold, but it might be okay, depending on whether I'm trying to attract men and women as well. Okay, so as you can see, I have a variety here, similar but different. And now I can start playing with color. And in Illustrator, Now, if we go back to the color theory of that video, sweets was best in pink. We sell sweets with pink. So you click on the text with your arrow, click on the color, and in Illustrator we have a color palette. I'm going to choose pink. Okay, ooh, that's a bright pink. How do I change that color of pink from this intense default pink? In the swatches here, I click to the color mixer on the right. I can now reduce the amount of color in there. There we go. So that's the bold color. That is the default swatches. Click over to the right and you can play with the sliders. Neutralize. See how it neutralizes the color? Okay. Add black to make it darker. Reduce the amount of color to make it lighter. Tints and shades. Okay. If I like this color, I can. This is the cool part. If I want to repeat this color and use it in my other suites, I can add it to this swatch palette. How do you do that? Once you've created the color, there's an option tab to the upper right hand corner. I'm going to create a new swatch. I'm going to call it Sweet Pink and just click OK. So now when I go back to my palette here, there it is. There's my newly created Sweet Pink. You can create your own colors. So I'm going to click on Sweets and make it all my sweets my new pink color. Now I have to decide on what color Slim's going to be. Well, are they chocolate? Am I going to have multiple different flavors? Maybe. So if I want chocolate, there are some browns in here you can choose. That might work. Or you can play around with different colors. So I now have my 3 variations of my font. That's it. You're done. You are done. File, save as. This is my Slim Sweets draft. Always a draft because this isn't our finished logo by any means. I'm going to save it to my desktop and then I'm going to upload that to the file folder. So this is a .ai file, must save a .ai. Why? For editing capabilities. So we just say OK to the next window. Then we do file save as. File save as. Now I need a PDF. What is a PDF going to do? A PDF is going to embed the fonts. So when because I don't have your fonts, you've downloaded fonts and installed them on your computer, so you can see what it looks like. If you send me a .ai file and I don't have your fonts, it's going to default to Myriad Pro. It's not going to look anything like you want it to. So by embedding your fonts as a PDF, you kind of flatten the image in essence and embed the fonts, and then I see what you see. Okay, so we also need to save a PDF. So I'm going to save a PDF. PDF X1A in the next window. And save PDF. Say OK. Uh-oh, editing capabilities are going to be restricted. That's okay. I saved the .ai. I can go back to work on. That's what you're going to upload to the folder. Not this one. That's what you're going to upload to the folder here. Under Course Tools, Assignments, and remember, IC Collateral, Draft Logo. Okay, so you're going to upload your .ai file and the PDF. Okay, the AI and the PDF. All right, so I have now submitted my logos. That's what I'm asking you to do. The video tutorial is in week 5. You might recognize it because it's probably the same one you had for your personal branding. So in the interest of repetition, we're repeating the exact same process of building our personal brand logo to build this logo. So practice makes perfect, right? So you've already been able to create a personal logo. You're going to continue using Illustrator in the same way to produce this logo. Okay? All right. So if you're happy with that, good. If you have any delays, I see that someone has a question about reasons or for delays for commands in Illustrator. The amount of memory on your computer. You will have a worse and Photoshop. So Photoshop is the one that's going to slow you down the most. And that's because it needs 5 times the amount of memory to create that file than Illustrator would. So Illustrator and InDesign will probably work very quickly for you, but Photoshop is the one that's going to slow you down to the point where I can't demonstrate to you in Photoshop a close crop, you know, that hair close cropping tutorial. I can't demonstrate that to you while I'm using Zoom because I don't have enough memory on my laptop to do both. So the amount of memory you have on your laptop is going to dictate how quickly actions happen for you when you tell Photoshop to do something. If it slows you down, that's why you don't have enough memory on your computer. Don't use Chrome and Photoshop together. Your best bet is to not have anything else open while you work in Photoshop. Like nothing. Don't have any windows open in the background. Don't have any other programs open in the background. Only have Photoshop open, because Photoshop is the memory suck of them all. Okay? So for those of you who are ready to rock, if you could give me a thumbs up for those of you who have a clear understanding and are ready to go and work on this assignment. Sunday night at midnight, take Monday off. It's a holiday. And then the milestone 4 due Wednesday night. Okay, we got lots of you, so you are free to go, and I'll stay on to continue answering any questions. Okay, so I forgot to turn recording back on. So again, milestone 4, which you can find in evaluations, milestones, number 4, open a Word document and answer the following questions. What shape is it going to be? What size is it going to be? What colors do you intend to use? What font you're going to add to the packaging for the text on your package? Not the same as the logo itself. A little sketch. Again, you don't have to know how to draw. Okay? Just draw the basic shape of what you choose and draw on it where your logo would go and what text you're going to put on it. So we have to consider things like the volume of the package. So I'm trying to see if I have any packages around me here to demonstrate what some packaging. So on this pencil package tells me I have 12 pencils in this package. Okay. It tells me the brand name, so you'll have your logo on there, but you might want to say individual servings, or maybe it's 6 servings, right? And maybe it says chocolate caramel. Maybe you have a flavor you want to add. So those are the things you want to just draw out on your little sketch. And sometimes there's size. So is it an 8-ounce, 6 or 8-ounce bar? Or is it 120? Oh, that would be big. Or is it like 60 ounces in a tub? Like how many, what weight is it? So if you can find that information, Or you could just put X, X. That's what I do. I put a little XX ounces, OZ for ounces, because I don't know how many ounces it is, because I'm just planning my document. I'm just planning the layout of where things are going to go on that package. So that's what you're doing. You're planning it. So the composition is a quick little sketch. Again, just literally sketch it. As long as I can tell where you want things to go, that's good. You don't have to expertly draw this package. It's just a plan. Take a picture of your sketch and include it in your Word document with your explanation of the other things. And then tell me what material you're going to use for your package. Paper, plastic, cardboard, foil, tin, whatever you decide based on how it's going to protect or reseal or close because you have more than one serving. Okay? So is everybody clear on that? And then it's a Word document you submit to the IC collateral. So again, where do you submit it? Go to Course Tools, Assignments, and you're going to upload that to milestone 4. Whoops, I went past it. So milestone 4 package design plan. Okay? All right. Any other questions? There's some people who want to stay behind. So are there any other questions before we go? Can I have a thumbs up if you're clear? Okay. If you're clear on the assignment, off you go and have a great weekend. It's Thanksgiving. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the weather. It's supposed to be nice. So it might be cold in the morning, but we're having some gorgeous afternoons. So please take care. Have a great weekend. Take Monday off. You need a break. All right. Bye, everybody.